I want you to picture something for a moment. Just kind of take a breath, let your surroundings fade, and imagine you're suspended in the deep, incredibly calm water of the open ocean.
Oh, setting the scene right away.
Right. Just, it's vast, it's quiet. The sunlight is filtering down from the surface in these, like, long, fading blue columns. And then, right at the very edge of your vision, a silhouette materializes.
Yep, and we all know that shape.
The shape is unmistakable.
Yeah.
The torpedo body, the sweeping tail, the dorsal fin. I want you to think about the absolute most feared creature in that water. Usually, just hearing the word shark is enough to trigger a physiological response.
Oh, totally.
Your pulse ticks up, your breath gets a little, shallower, just picturing it in that blue void.
Well, the human nervous system is practically hardwired to react that way. It's a deeply ingrained visceral response. We get this immediate spike of cortisol at the mere suggestion of that silhouette.
Right. And that biological alarm bell is, it's the exact phenomenon we're zeroing in on today.
Exactly.
For this deep dive, we're pulling from a really unique set of sources. It's this beautiful, almost poignant, script-like exploration of the reality of sharks, centering completely on this idea of the misunderstood predator.
It's a really powerful read.
It really is. And our mission today is to take that spike of anxiety you might have just felt, isolate it, and completely deconstruct it. We're going to dismantle a centuries-old myth and uncover why basically everything we've been taught about these apex predators is functionally upside down. Okay, let's unpack this, because to actually see the shark for what it is, we first have to strip away the illusion, and that starts with looking at the sheer cold math of our fear.
Right, and the math is where the dominant narrative we've built around these animals, it just immediately shatters.
Yeah.
We carry this collective image of the shark as the ultimate malicious threat to human life, a lurking menace. But the statistics detailed in our source material, they paint a staggeringly different reality. Globally, across all oceans and all species, sharks kill an average of 10 people a year.
Wait, just 10?
Just 10.
Across a planet of 8 billion people interacting with the oceans every single day.
10! That's the global average. Now, we really have to contrast that with the other side of the ledger. Humans kill an estimated 100 million sharks every single year.
Wow.
Yeah, let that number just hang in the air for a second. 10 human lives versus 100 million shark lives. When you place those two statistics next to each other, the illusion just dissolves.
It really does.
The data makes it undeniably clear that we are absolutely not the prey in this interspecies dynamic. We are, by a massive, massive margin, the apex threat.
I was staring at that number in the research. 100 million a year. And the scale is so vast, it almost breaks human comprehension. Like, it is industrialized extraction.
It's staggering.
To visualize the disparity, imagine you're looking at this massive structural brick wall. The 10 people we tragically lose each year, they represent a single grain of sand falling off the face of one brick. Meanwhile, the 100 million sharks humans kill annually, that represents bulldozing the entire foundation of the wall and just grinding it into dust.
Right. We're completely dismantling the structure.
Exactly. Yet, if you ask the average person on the street who the monster is in this scenario, they point at the grain of sand. Here's where it gets really interesting. Why do we do that? Why do we cling to this intense, irrational terror when the basic mathematics of the situation prove that, we are the actual danger?
What's fascinating here is the intersection of evolutionary psychology and the commerce of fear. The source material hits on a brilliant point. Fear is an incredibly easy commodity to sell.
Right.
Especially when it perfectly aligns with our ancient neurological wiring. As early hominids, we evolved to survive by fearing large predators with forward-facing eyes and sharp teeth.
Because that fear literally kept us alive on the savannah.
Exactly. And today, from a media and storytelling perspective, a predator with rows of teeth simply makes a more profitable, compelling villain than, say, abstract systemic threats.
So we took a biological organism and just mapped all of our collective primal anxiety right onto it.
Basically.
We essentially built a massive PR campaign against a fish.
We did, and it's a highly lucrative campaign. Headlines, blockbuster films, coastal folklore. They've all capitalized on that evolutionary mismatch to condition us.
Oh, for sure.
Like if a news outlet runs a drone video of a great white simply navigating its natural habitat a few hundred yards off a beach, they don't describe it as a fish swimming.
No, they score the footage with those ominous driving cellos,
Right, and they use predatory verbs like lurking or stalking or prowling.
turning an animal that's simply existing in its environment into a mythological monster, all because monsters sell tickets and generate clicks.
Yep. It is so much harder to sell a movie about the devastating effects of industrial longline fishing,
Yeah.
or ocean acidification.
So true. So we buy the Hollywood narrative, completely ignoring the reality of that 100 million number. And this leads us to the second massive paradigm shift in our sources. Because the moment we recognize that humanity is the destructive force in this equation, well, we have to examine the mechanical consequences of that destruction.
Which are huge.
Yeah, we aren't just overhunting an animal, we are aggressively tampering with the life support system of the planet.
And that is not a dramatic overstatement. We are talking about dismantling one of the most ancient, finely tuned survival mechanisms on Earth. Sharks have been patrolling and shaping the oceans for over 400 million years.
That timeline is always so staggering to conceptualize. 400 million years means sharks predate the existence of trees on land.
Yeah,
They predate the rings of Saturn.
that's wild.
They've successfully navigated 5 separate mass extinction events, asteroid impacts that blotted out the sun, global volcanic winters, radical shifts in ocean chemistry. Sharks adapted and lived through all of it.
Because their biology is the definition of evolutionary perfection. And through all of those eons, they haven't just been passively surviving in the background, they've been actively managing the marine environment.
Right.
They're structural load bearers. As apex predators, their primary function is to maintain entire ecosystems in a state of delicate equilibrium. They regulate the populations of mid-level predators, they cull the sick, the slow, and the dying, and by doing so, they ensure the genetic health and numerical balance of every species below them on the food web.
So what does this all mean, tangibly, mechanically, for you and me sitting here today? If they are the keystone holding the arch together, what happens when we pull 100 million of those keystones out of the ecosystem every 12 months?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the biological mechanism at play here is called a trophic cascade, and the consequences are catastrophic.
Okay, break that down for us.
Sure. The sources spell out this terrifying step-by-step unraveling of the ocean. When you remove the apex predators, the immediate effect is that mid-level predatory fish-like groupers or snappers, they experience a population explosion.
Because there's suddenly nothing keeping their numbers in check.
Exactly. And those mid-level predators, well, they need to eat. So they decimate the populations of herbivores like parrotfish.
And the parrotfish's entire job is to graze on algae and keep the coral reefs clean, right?
Yes, that is a cascade. Without the herbivores constantly grazing, macroalgae rapidly overgrows and literally smothers the coral reefs, completely blocking out the sunlight.
Oh, wow.
The coral dies, the reef structure crumbles, the nursery for thousands of other marine species collapses. You get sicker reefs, followed by collapsing commercial fish populations, and ultimately you get dying, hypoxic seas.
The irony is just profoundly tragic. We've labeled them as mindless killers, but biologically they act as the immune system of the ocean.
That's a great way to put it.
They prevent disease from spreading through schools of fish, they keep the reefs breathing, and as we continually discover, a dying ocean means a dying planet. I mean, the oceans produce at least half the oxygen we breathe and sequester massive amounts of our carbon.
We rely on the ocean for foundational climate regulation, and sharks manage this planetary system flawlessly for hundreds of millions of years before a single human ancestor even stood upright.
Right.
We arrived at the absolute very end of that timeline, declared the system's managers to be our mortal enemies, and started mechanically dismantling the very ecosystem that sustains us both.
We're aggressively destroying the glue that holds our world together, and we're doing it because we are afraid of a fictional story we invented about them.
It's tough to swallow.
It really is. But what I love about these sources is that they don't just leave us hovering at this macro-level planetary doom and gloom perspective. They zoom way in. They transition from the global statistics and trophic cascades right down to the micro-level sensory experience. Like what actually happens when a human being and a 400 million-year-old guardian meet face-to-face, eye-to-eye in the water.
This is where the narrative completely inverts. the accounts from people who actually spend thousands of hours in the water with these animals, the marine biologists, the professional divers, they describe an interaction that is the polar opposite of terror.
Right. The sources highlight that these divers consistently report feelings of profound calm, mutual curiosity, and deep connection. Not a frenzy, not a bloodthirsty, mindless eating machine. A calculated, peaceful connection.
Because the reality of the animal's sensory biology is entirely disconnected from the myth. Divers understand a fundamental physical truth about the ocean. It is a highly conductive medium that responds instantly to energy and pressure.
Right.
Sharks do not see a human in a wetsuit and think, oh, food. They sense the environment through highly specialized organs. They have a lateral line running down their bodies that detects minute changes in water pressure.
And those pores on their snouts.
Right. Yeah, the ampullae of Lorenzini. They detect electromagnetic fields. So if you enter their space with panic, if your heart rate spikes, your breathing is erratic, and you're thrashing your arms around, you are broadcasting distress.
You're sending out low-frequency vibrations that perfectly mimic the signature of a dying fish.
Exactly.
You are literally creating the electrical and hydrodynamic chaos of wounded prey.
You become a signal of vulnerability in the water.
But I want to pause and acknowledge the sheer overwhelming difficulty of not broadcasting that signal.
Oh, it's incredibly hard.
Imagine being the diver in that scenario. This creature, which media and culture have told you since childhood is an unpredictable killer, is materializing out of the blue and swimming directly towards you. To override your primal biology in that exact moment, you're essentially asking your prefrontal cortex to manually shut off your screaming amygdala.
That's exactly what it is.
It feels like trying to casually solve a complex math equation while a fire alarm is just blaring in your ear.
Huh.
Every evolutionary fiber of your nervous system is demanding that you flee.
It requires immense psychological discipline to conquer millions of years of hominid survival instinct. But this raises an important question about how our internal state actually dictates our external reality. When a diver manages to quiet that internal fire alarm, when they slow their heart rate, control their breathing, and replace frantic panic with calm, assertive respect, the entire biological dynamic shifts. The shark's sensory organs read that calm, steady energy.
And the distress signal just vanishes.
Yes. The signal changes from vulnerable prey to unfamiliar, confident predator, or simply a curious obstacle. And when we stop acting like chaotic prey, the projected monster instantly disappears.
Leaving only the highly intelligent, incredibly cautious animal behind.
And the result is a moment of pure mutual recognition, eye to eye, stripped of all the Hollywood soundtracks and cultural baggage. No fear. Just two complex beings sharing space in the deep.
Wow.
It's an interaction that completely shatters the baseline assumptions we've been handed. The shark investigates, determines you're neither a threat nor food, and then, invariably, it simply turns and glides away. It conserves its energy.
Just two beings meeting. That is such a powerful, grounding image. It strips away all the sensationalism and the exaggerated teeth. And it brings us to this incredibly poignant, hopeful synthesis at the end of our sources. The ultimate realization is that the true monster in the water was never the shark.
The monster was always the story we told about them.
And the most incredible thing about stories, unlike biological facts, is that they can be rewritten. We wrote the script of the mindless villain, which means we hold the power to write a new one.
We do.
So for everyone listening to this deep dive right now, we want to ask you to make a conscious, deliberate choice. The next time you close your eyes and picture a shark, or the next time you hear that word, notice that physiological spike of fear and then actively choose to let it go. Don't picture a villain lurking in the shadows waiting to pull you under.
Picture an ancient survivor. Picture a vital, finely tuned guardian that has tirelessly managed and held the ocean's intricate web together since long before humans even existed.
We have to stop letting our modern media-driven disconnection from nature dictate how we treat the natural world. Which leaves us with one final lingering thought for you to take with you today.
Yeah.
We just spent this time unpacking how our most terrifying, culturally ingrained oceanic monster is actually a deeply misunderstood structural load bearer keeping our planet alive. So it makes you wonder, what other villains in the natural world are we currently blindly destroying simply because we've completely forgotten how to read their story?
It is a perspective shift we desperately need to apply across the board.
It really is. Thank you for joining us in the deep water today. We'll catch you on the next one.